Let's go back to Jerry Seib in Washington. And Jerry, I have to say this feels very different to me than what we were hearing a month ago at the conventions when both candidates seemed to be talking to their base. They really are now talking to those undecided voters in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my first reaction is to just say, wow, I mean, that was a pretty amazing debate in many ways. It's probably the least decorous, the least respectful debate you've ever seen in an American presidential campaign. And you're right, they were doing it because they were fighting with each other to get to the center. I thought the closing remarks by President Obama were fascinating because he essentially took on directly this idea that he doesn't believe in the free enterprise system and said, I do too. And in Governor Romney's closing statements, he said, I wanted to take on this idea that he only cares about rich people. I care about everybody. Well, that's pretty raw stuff, and it tells you that they're both basically playing to voters in the middle who don't want a president who doesn't believe in the free enterprise system and who don't want a president who is only interested in preserving the rights of the upper 1% and who didn't say those things on that 47% tape. So, yeah, I think you're right, Alan. We saw at the end what these guys were trying to do, but we saw throughout the fact that they were willing to have a fight over it, and I think some people last time weren't sure President Obama had the fight left in it.
They really took each other on. But, Jerry, do you think either candidate stepped over the line at any point?
Well, I think there's going to be a debate about that. You know, I think there's going to be a question about whether there was too much pushing and shoving for time in front of the camera. You know, and I think both of them will probably be accused of skating a little thin on some of the facts. I mean, I think President Obama seemed to be taking credit for some energy production that I'm not sure his administration had anything to do with, for example.
Yeah, help us with that. Help us with that a little bit, because that was one of the most shocking confrontations, and it really was a confrontation over facts. Governor Romney turned to him and said, your administration cut drilling on public lands, and Obama said, no, we didn't. We increased production from public lands. Is there truth in there?
Well, I think production probably went up, and I'm not sure drilling did. And I think that one of the outs for the president was what he described what they've done on leases, which is they did try to take back leases that were unproductive and inactive and put them back into the hopper for sort of resubmission and rebidding. But I'm not sure that produced more drilling. I think the production may be up because of things that have happened in the oil and gas sector. And I think Governor Romney was right about the fact that most of that increased gas production and the oil production onshore is happening on private lands, not on government lands. So, you know, I think they both had it half right, I would suspect, and there's going to be a lot of sorting through that claim as well.
Any other points you want to point out, Jerry, things that you think will continue to reverberate over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I thought the moment of the debate about the Benghazi attack on the consulate there that killed the ambassador was a pretty electric moment, and I think President Obama got the better of that one. He did what he had to do. He looked in the camera and said, you know, I take this seriously. These people work for me. I have to go greet the coffins when they come back. It's wrong to make a political football out of a tragedy like this. I think that probably had Governor Romney back on his heels a little bit. At the same time, I think the president probably overstated a little bit when he called this a terrorist act. He said, I call it a terrorist act the next day. Well, the transcript of what he said the next day is a little looser than that. He said, acts of terror won't deter us from doing what we need to do. It wasn't until later that the administration was clear that this was considered a terrorist attack. So there's going to be a lot of debate about both the meaning and the exact precise language that was used in that Benghazi exchange.
Okay, Jerry, thanks very much. Thanks very much for that report. I know you've got to write for tomorrow morning's paper, but thanks for taking some time to be with us.
Sure.